Let's see if she'll do it. I think I have to share my whole. Okay. All right, she's 2. Okay. Let's see if she'll do it. Oh, let me do uppercase. Hey, what's this word?
Pink.
It's not pink. What does that say? What's it say? Are you talking? What does it say? What does it say? She's well, I'll show you what I'm talking about. She's insanely like good at reading. It's nuts. I don't know if you can hear this. Can you hear this?
Yeah, I
can hear
it.
No, not blue.
How old is she?
2. 25 months. What does that say? What's that say? It does say pink.
Very nice.
It does say pink. Yes. Good job, It is blue.
Give her a year and she'll master calculus.
Well, she said body blue.
Oh, it says body.
Didn't even finish.
Yay.
You hear her? She's saying it now. It is a shoe.
Very nice.
Isn't that crazy? Like, it's not... That is a shoe.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm so amazed by that.
Wow.
Wow.
Please tell her she's so good at that.
I know, like you're so good at that, baby. You gonna read that now? What does that say?
Good night.
No, blue. You're close. Good night. I love you. Good job. Love you, baby. Good night. She's a good reader too. Alrighty. Just bragging a bit, y'all. Sorry.
No,
But that was
that's
just
a good thing to brag about.
Well deserved.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Especially,
you.
you know,
Say thank you.
there's a lot of concerns right now with the reading level of children, so it's good. It's good to get ahead of the curve on that.
Right. Exactly.
But have you considered just handing her an iPad all day?
She gets probably too much screen time as it stands, but we're trying to work on that. She's a Miss Rachel stan, so we got a lot of that going
That's
on.
good. I mean, it's like a good educational content.
Yeah. I don't mind that so much.
Mindless AI generated brain rot.
It's true. Exactly. Trying to think about my intention though, because I want to try to get at least like some polls filled in for anybody kind of following my little plot here with this. Like I basically had to take it off of Amazon because it was on their system Velo, which is like their serial system. So they shut that down. So now I have to like, I'm no longer a published author because they don't have that anymore. So I have to like turn this into a book. So that's where all this is coming from. But Adam, you didn't say what you're hoping to accomplish in the next 90 minutes. And he did say he was working with a bad mic, but we're glad you're here with us regardless. Adam's working on a really, really cool civics workshop. So if you get a sec, I'd love for you to pop in and kind of tell us a little bit about that. But for now, we're at... Oh, hi, yeah.
Let me see if I can switch over to my superior computer.
Okay, no problem. Well, just pop in and let us know what you're working on, or if it is the civics workshop, because I'd be very interested to know how that's going. But we are at 9:15, probably more like 4:15 your time. So let's go ahead and hunker down and get to our projects. And KMav, if you have to drop at any point, please know how appreciated you are. Love that you come hang out with us for a little bit. That's so nice.
Yeah, no trouble.
My laptop is struggling. This laptop's old. I'm gonna hop on my desktop, so I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
I have a question for Sam and Jacob in general VC, but I'm gonna dip out.
Okay, no
And
worries.
if I might not come back.
Okay, thanks so much.
You know, pickleball.
Okay,
All right,
no
bye. Have a good
problem.
one.
Okay.
Okay, that should be better.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I was just wondering if you had a
Alright.
set thing you wanted to work on, or if it was related to your workshop.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of popped in here for like inspiration, just to kind of see how these workshops run.
Oh,
I think what you do is significantly more interactive than what I'm planning to do, but I
uh,
still thought it could be useful uh, as reference. But yeah, I
hmm.
just last few weeks I've been pretty busy. We do the Formula One event um, at Hard Rock Stadium down here in Florida.
Oh wow.
And I just
What do
missed out
you?
on the chance to meet Clavicular. Tragic.
No.
Oh, tragic. Oh, oh.
What do you?
I know.
What do you
I was gonna.
do? Like, are you in marketing
Yeah.
or?
No. I'm a nepo baby. So, um, we have a couple family businesses. We have
Mhm.
furniture stores, which are kind of all over Florida. We're opening a new one in Palm Beach. So that would make number
Nice,
5.
nice.
And yeah, last year was horrible for us with the very very smart trade policy by our very genius
Yeah.
president. Um,
Goodness.
but we also have an events business. We're Moroccan, so we do a lot of Moroccan style stuff, a lot of Arabian Nights themed
Mm.
events. We do Indian and Jewish stuff, like weddings and events as well. We do corporate whatever,
Hmm.
as long as they like, the style of decor we have, and we did the VIP section for the Formula One race that just happened down here in Florida. And
Wow.
Clavicular he was there, but I didn't get to see him. Um,
I
Tragically, I was
thought he
gonna
got
ask him.
arrested.
Yeah, well, he did, but I don't think I think he's bailed. He paid bail because he shot an alligator. I think is what he did.
Really?
Yeah, he pulled out a gun and shot an alligator. He got arrested for that.
I did not know that. I thought he hit someone.
Yeah,
Surely.
I
I
heard,
don't know why.
I heard
That was
he
my
did.
information.
alligator. I
He
heard
did also hit
alligator,
somebody
and
with
I
a car.
thought allegations. So I thought he shot someone who was allocating against him.
No,
An
that would be a
alligator.
Clavicular thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
An
he's sociopathic
alligator.
enough for that.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah. I was gonna ask him to like analyze my face and my canthal tilt and stuff, and so he could call me subhuman. I thought it would be
And
funny,
your
but
growth
I didn't
plates and
get a
whatever the
chance.
fuck that means. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love his internet phrenology. Um,
That's a good way to put
Wow.
it. That's a great way
it
to
Yeah.
put
really
it.
is, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but no, I didn't get to meet him. But it's a huge event, so I was just super busy with that last couple of weeks. So I totally neglected like all my midterms volunteer stuff.
I mean,
Um,
that's the point of it being volunteer stuff. Like
yeah,
nobody's gonna fire you. Nobody's gonna dock your pay. Like it's meant for you to do it as you can do it. So no worries at all. No worries at all. But,
very true. But yeah,
that's pretty cool.
today I hunkered down and kind of cleaned up the whole workshop document.
Hmm.
And well, can you say something real quick? I want to make sure that my headphones are not bugging.
Yeah, I got the little chili track going on. Let me turn
Oh,
it down
okay,
just.
you're good. You're good. All right. All right. It sounds okay. Just
Yeah,
bugging for a
honestly,
second.
you weren't too bad before, but
Oh
this
yeah.
is
Okay.
an improvement.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. 'Cause, my girlfriend complains crazy about that other mic. So I just
Aw,
assumed it was really bad.
let me turn you up
Um.
there. Is she like an
But yeah.
audiophile?
So
Like she's
I wouldn't say that. But
Mhm.
she cares about it more than I do for sure. Uh.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. So Civics Workshop, I just submitted a request for the media team to put together a presentation. I'm gonna put together like a little wireframe presentation for them to work off of. So I have like a visual for it. So I wanna do the workshop, the first Civics Workshop. Hopefully sometime like if not late next week, then the week after next. I'm gonna do some like
Okay.
and I pinged you about it in the events team chat. I want to do like a little trial run before I do it for the general public, just to get some feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, the civics workshop, for Nurk, because that's his name, right? Nurk. Yeah.
Yeah, nerd.
Yeah.
So the civics workshop is basically a beginning of like trying to make sure that people, especially volunteers, that people who might be canvassing or whatever else, understand the systems of government that they're like engaging with. And I'm starting from an angle of like just kind of understanding the Constitution, and this workshop is pretty focused on the first three branches of government, and the overall kind of point of it is getting across that like I think that a thing that Democrats tend to fuck up is that they like insist like, oh my god, this is like illegal, this violates this norm, this violates the Constitution. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter, what people
Right.
care about is how does this affect me. And it's kind of like the way that I want to go about like talking about civics with volunteers, and also it's going to be a video that Tribot wants to record and use it for DGG social media, right? Is making the point that it's not just, oh, this is illegal so it's bad. This has meaningful consequences to you in your everyday life, that we have these three branches of government with these rules in place as a response to British tyranny, which is the worst kind of tyranny because their accents are dumb. And
My husband's British. Come on.
well, he better not be tyrannical.
I think you missed. I just think you misspelled dumb. I think you meant to say
careful,
sexy.
That's
the
true,
British,
that's true.
the British programmers might get us out of this. You better respect.
True,
You're right,
true.
you're right.
Well,
I
let's say
just,
1800s era British people. Yeah, they're dumb.
Yeah. No, I didn't say British people are dumb. I just said that the accent is goofy. But there's many British accents.
Gotcha.
Maybe only some of them are goofy.
A great deal. A great deal.
Yeah. I'm just.
But no, go ahead.
regardless.
Go ahead. You're
But,
fine.
yeah. So, just kind of explaining like these were the conditions of like the colonists that revolted against the king, right? These are the things that inspired them to. It inspired the framers of the Constitution to come up with the Constitution the way that it is, right? These are rooted in specific historical reasons. A lot of the way a government works is a response to like an abuse by the British government that the colonists had suffered, right? Kind of like grounding out that story, and then explaining what the three branches of government are, and then kind of toward the end of the workshop, I want to go through a few violations of the Constitution by the Trump administration, and kind of ask people like, just kind of tell people what happened, ask them, okay, how does this violate the Constitution? Like, what do you think the problem here is, right? And what does this mean for you in your life? And have like a discussion about these violations so that people understand like it's not just a violation of some rule, some esoteric rule that's people say that say is important, right? It's a meaningful erosion of like the quality of your life and your security as an American citizen when the government can just do whatever the fuck it wants. And just kind of like talking about those consequences in like a material grounded out way. And I want it to be like a series. Next thing I want to touch on is Bill of Rights. I was gonna do it in this first one, but it would have been too long. And then Congress is the one I really want to focus on because we're doing midterms, and also kind of explaining that like, look, there's a promise of U.S. government that it's supposed to be a government by and for the people, that power exists to serve those that it governs. This is not a promise we've literally ever kept, but it's still a good one, right? It's a good idea. Even if the framers of the Constitution are slave-owning bigots or whatever, right? That doesn't mean that the idea was bad,
True.
They just failed to live up to their own ideal, So, I think the liberal American story has to be something positive and aspirational, kind of marching toward this goal of ultimately having a government that is responsive to and serves the people that is meant to, the people that it has power over, right? And explaining that like, look, the colonists did not have free press, did not have civil rights, did not have slick Discord servers, right? They didn't have any of this, and they managed to overthrow the most powerful empire of the world, right? Kick them out. We can deal with a dumb orange nepo baby, right? given all the tools that we have in our arsenal, and kind of also explaining how the midterms are important, right? What they mean for procedurally, like how it is a meaningful check to Trump and how it can prevent your life from getting worse. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, just trying to make sure that people understand that this is real shit that has consequences.
I'd say the only kind of corollary to that thought, though, is that yes, they went up against the Brits with muskets, and
Yeah,
ships, but at the same time, the British didn't have nuclear weapons, and
or
uh,
drones.
yeah, or their finger on the pulse of what the military is able to do or not. Um, they didn't
Yeah,
have
in
the
that
media
respect,
apparatus that they do. So how do we? I would venture to say like a really good question to ask is like how do we then sort of track that same like effort,
Mhm.
but still like expand it to the point that it kind of accounts for that, like the growth
I
in violence
I think
or the
the
capabilities. Yeah.
yeah. Do I think like a full blown violent resistance of the U.S. government is gonna go would be a thing that went well? No, I don't. But um, the way that I see it, we're not really there yet. There's obviously a lot of violence coming from the government at this moment.
Right.
But
Right.
I think
It's
the most
definitely more of
important,
them.
yeah, but I think the most important fight is probably the media one. The
Mm.
media and
Hmm.
messaging apparatus, like the information landscape. It's the thing that I think average people have the most control over. I mean, outside of like local government, like local government elections and things like that, that stuff matters too. But the way that you even get, the way that you can even really engage with the processes of a government, it demands a kind of like um, cultural consensus, right? Kind of like the moral majority of the '60s and stuff like that.
Hmm.
You need to build like a groundswell of public support for some idea or for some mission. And I think the big mistake that especially Democrats post Obama, as far as like the culture made,
Hmm.
and I think the mistake that Republicans are making now is there is something in the American psyche that's just like they just don't like being told what to do. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't really like being like talked down to, right? I
Right.
think
Right.
liberals have the advantage when they're speaking from a position of like what is wrong with you guys, right? Why does it bother you, right? If somebody wants to take hormones or whatever, right? Like that's not your business, you know.
Hmm.
Well, why do you need penetration into everybody's like sex lives, right? Why do you
Hmm.
care where this person came from? Like just back off, right? That is generally when liberals are more popular, right? When
Hmm.
conservatives get preachy, right? When they get like weirdly religiously sycophantic, right? And like
Hmm.
theocratic, and they have like a rigid structure that they're demanding from other people while also engaging in like the highest forms of hypocrisy, right?
Hmm.
uh that is that like when
Absolutely.
conservatives are in that position, yeah, that's where liberals tend to win. And liberals post Obama were kind of the preachy, you do this, you don't do this, you don't, you know. And on top of
Well,
that, the way that they
were were they? Were they? Or was that what the right
uh
has successfully made us,
well, here's what I'd say. I
feel?
would say like Democrats, like elected official Democrats, broadly probably not, right?
Mhm.
But the media landscape, right, of like the early 2010s, kind of like pre-Trump election, but like post kind of like second term Obama, uh, there was like legit liberals were legitimately very annoying, right? I grew up on the internet. I was a teenager at this time, right? I
Mhm.
was never right wing just because of like my own ideas and like my the way I was
You
raised
have
and
a
whatever. I was never
IQ
right
that's
wing.
above your age,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess. I think I just had like a lot of positive influences in my life that helped kind of.
Yeah.
I just never stepped over that line, right? But I was super annoyed with like liberals and stuff online. And while I do think a lot of it was exaggerated by the right, they didn't completely wholesale make it up, right? There was a lot of things that like people who were left wing online, right, or in the media would say that was like super like cringe and annoying, and they focused on things that um, didn't feel like they really affected the average person,
Mm.
uh, and I think it enabled conservatives to come up the way that they did because a lot of like the feminist owned or whatever, like all that content, it came from like a spite driven reaction of people being like, you can't tell me what to do, man, fuck you guys, right?
Mhm.
um
I don't know. Like I hear you
mhm.
because I'm old. I also lived through the Me Too movement. Even before that,
I don't really have a problem with Me Too.
Occupy, all of that. So like I get what you're saying, and I've seen it. So I'm not saying
Mhm.
that what you experienced wasn't absolutely accurate. But I just venture to say that it seems like the things that the woke scoldy left were woke scolding about were respecting people's livelihoods,
So
their
I agree.
existence, stuff like that. So
I agree with that, right?
yeah,
The issue, it's a matter of like packaging, right? I don't necessarily have an issue
sure,
with like the message itself, right? It's the way that it was communicated, right? Like the way that it felt like the left broadly spoke to people was they were talking down to them, right? From like a position of superiority. And I think some of this is a function of like a lot of these ideas come from left-wing academics, right? Who write about these ideas. And then, pop culture kind of like takes it like reduces it to like a simple form, and there's this instinct, I think, especially in whatever side is in power, right? There's like this like arrogance in the superiority, right, of your cause because look, hey, we won the
mm,
election, right? And in that arrogance, right,
hmm,
they reduce more complicated academic ideas, right, to a very simplistic cudgel to like bash other people with because it feels good. It feels good to talk down to somebody else as like, I'm morally superior to you, right? And the idea is not necessarily bad, right? But like the tone, the tonality and the messaging, right? The way that it was messaged felt. The thing that I would say, right, is it is frustrating when you talk to people about civil rights and like diversity and liberty as if it's a burden they must bear. It's not. It's a cool
right,
thing, right? That benefits everybody, right?
hmm,
The white guilt thing doesn't help anybody, right? When liberals do it, it doesn't help anybody. Uh, you should respect minorities, right, and their struggles because they exist in your society. They contribute to your society, right? If they're happy, everybody's happier for it, right?
true,
Society is just better when more people are doing well, and it should not be like this burden that you have to bear as like a privileged class, right? Like a cross to bear, like you're some kind of martyr. I don't like that kind of communication, and it feels like a lot of like left wing tone is like this, right? We must like suffer for the crimes of our society. It's an unjust society. We're so horrible for this, right? And it's like this is not an inspiring message, right? People are gonna reject this, even if it's true, right? Because it doesn't feel good,
sure.
you know.
And I guess
So
it's
yeah.
just like where, because again, I hear it too. I agree.
Hmm.
The tone, yes, I
Hmm.
see where it could be very demeaning or and I'm very tired. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to
You're good.
formulate
You're good.
thoughts. But like so I see what you're saying. But I think where people take that as arrogance should actually really just be seen as a mirror. They should just see it as the projection that it is. Like to literally feel like you're oppressed, and not you. I'm saying, the people on the
Hmm.
right who claim that they were moved further right because of the tone of these people.
Hmm.
I just don't think that's true. I think that what they're most
No,
upset
I don't.
about. Oh, no, no, go ahead.
I Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think that they were necessarily moved further right because of the tone. I think that the tone opened up an
Right.
opportunity for narrativizing on the right that was like very compelling to people who didn't feel like when you tell because half my family, half my family is Moroccan and the other half is rednecks, right? On my mom's side. And if you talk to these rednecks and you tell them you're privileged, brother, they're gonna be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Right? Even though they are, they're not gonna see it that way because they live in a shitty
Right.
town, right? Where they can barely get access to healthcare, right? Where there's not a lot of public services, where their water tastes like ass, right? And they're like, privileged my ass. You guys in the cities are the privileged ones, right? You know, we make way less money than you guys. You know, we also pay taxes, significantly less, but they don't feel like they get much for it. Now, I think they're wrong about that, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like the message of like, you know, like your privilege and you have to reconcile with the consequences, right, of the injustice of the society that has existed to benefit you and your people, right? It just
Yeah.
it's in conflict with their lived experience, right? I think the
But
more accurate Nelson
yeah.
Mandela is kind of he's interesting to me in that like when he talked about apartheid, one of the things that he pointed out, and I think it's accurate, right, is that white South Africans are in some sense like they're like moral victims of apartheid. You're born into a system, right, where like you are just by nature of the system, you are an oppressor, right, and you're exploiting other people, and to shake up that system represents a harm to you and like your quality of life, right? So it's obvious just as a matter of circumstances, most people are just going to look out for themselves, right? They didn't choose this system, but they're in it, right? And are they going to want to sacrifice massively, you know, their status and their no, they're not going to want to do that, right? I think the injustice of like American society, right, the oppression of minorities, wealth inequality, I think this thing harms like it doesn't just harm the oppressed class. I think the oppressors are like there's a moral harm to them. They're never happy with it, right? Like they're always having to defend it. They're putting up a fortress that they think they have to defend to keep themselves safe, but it's more like a prison, right? Because they're constantly feeling like they're under attack.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's just the epitome of zero sum thinking, you know, like, oh, for them to
yeah.
get more means that I get less. And
hmm
you're right, like that does play out in some instances, but not for the majority of things that, like you said earlier, if we're beneficial to the minorities or the marginalized groups in a society tend to, you know, what was it like all tides, high
Yeah.
tides lifts
Rising
all
tide,
ships, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing. Yeah, so like
precisely.
absolutely, but I still feel that that reasoning of I am going to vote for Trump or I'm going to rail against the left because they're making me feel bad, you know, about my supposed privilege or about or being fearful of things I could potentially lose if these people are helped or whatever. Like I feel like that's still just, and maybe projection's not the right word. Maybe it's just like it's a reflection. Again, like I don't see that like I guess what's the alternative? Like what's the alternative? Like if we had instead said, "Oh, well, you know, let's just not investigate white supremacy. Let's just not
No, yeah.
even
I think
because we could,
that stuff.
you know, or let's
Yeah, I
or
think that
let's
stuff.
yeah.
I think that stuff is essential, right? It's just generally, I think the message of like, hey, leave people alone is a stronger message for the American public than like, you should do this, right? And I think the
Yeah.
side that's on the you should do this tends to be the side that eventually loses, right?
Well,
The right wing
the
on
issue
the
is like,
internet
what
came
should
up.
they do though? Like to say, hey, you should perhaps take a implicit bias course and understand where you might be as a teacher judging your black students a little more harshly than, and this is black people, black teachers too, you
Yeah,
know, judging your black students a little bit more harshly than your white students or hey, you know, you're a doctor and you're thinking that you can't prescribe a certain uh you know, blood regulation medication because these old texts say that
studies are
black people have
yeah,
different anatomy than white
yeah.
people, you know, like stuff like that is
Or studies are
worth,
mostly done on white men.
right, it's worth investigating. So like again, like what's the
Yeah,
alternative? Just to say, hey, you know, let's continue harming people for your comfort. Like I think for me, immigration,
Well,
DEI,
it
all this stuff,
yeah.
it just goes back to
I
that for
think
me. Yeah,
I think
like I don't give a
it's
fuck. I don't give a fuck. Like
sure,
if you,
but the
yeah.
point I think that's I guess more compelling. This is the way I think about it, right?
Mhm.
Is it's not really that uncomfortable, right? To knock these things down. It's probably like it really it genuinely just makes society better, right? To be a conservative that complains over and over
Right.
again about black crime, right? And not want to like I don't know do something about poverty in the black community, right? Or reconcile with like the consequences. Look, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not your fault because you're white, but I mean, you're born into this world. You have to deal with it the same way you have to deal with gravity, right? You're stuck to the ground. When you jump, you come back down. It's the same kind of thing, right? You just have to deal with it. It doesn't. You don't have to. I'm not interested in people feeling bad about it. I'm not interested in people like crying about it, right? Or feeling like guilty. That's not helpful. It's a problem. It should be solved, right? Because if people the happier people are in your society, the better your society is going to go, right? You don't want a permanent underclass, right, of people that are upset with their place in society because it's not good for you, right? Even if you want to think about it from like the conservative, like hawkish thing, right, with the fiscal conservatism, whatever, it is more expensive, right, to not fund schools in poor areas, right, and have those kids eventually just grow up to become like criminals because they don't have access to opportunities or don't realize that there are opportunities that they could possibly have access if they had like better guidance, right? Processing those people as criminals who have already harmed people, right, putting them through the prison system, that is way more expensive than just making sure they have air conditioning and free lunch, right? Like just
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you and me, we're on this
Mhm.
exact same page. Like I'm not even like
Yeah.
offering I'm not trying to be like a contrarian. I'm not trying to offer like even a devil's advocate
Sure.
position. All I'm saying is that to go into trying to educate people on the system that they live in and then to attribute the people who are willfully ignorant of it, to attribute that to their disaffection with government and politics because of how uh downtrodden they feel or oppressed they feel, or whatever. Like I just think it's a little dangerous to try to attribute that to something reasonable, like it would
No,
like the
yeah,
South
yeah.
African person. It's
Mhm.
reasonable to think that they would feel some sort of way about losing their privileges, losing their chefs and their maids and having to give back
Mhm.
land that they didn't you know get legally or whatever. Like it's reasonable to think that that's why they're upset. you know it's reasonable to think that the people who claim that they want less crime, you know maybe they just don't know that there's some simple programs that you could do to help with these. It's reasonable to think that, but they're not reasonable people. Like none of this is coming from like even their excuse that they don't want to teach Black history because it makes white kids uncomfortable, that they don't want to teach about, or they don't want to have DEI programs because it's been making white people uncomfortable, or they don't want to talk about Me Too because it makes men uncomfortable. Like whatever the hell it is, like that's what they issue as the reasonable excuse. But the reality is that they know it. They know it. They just don't want it. They just don't want to help Black people. They just don't want to help women. They just don't want to help disabled people. They just don't want to help anybody. And it's so I think it's like sad, but we have to understand that these people are coming from a much more insidious and selfish, borderline, dare I say,
Yeah.
kind of an evil place. and it's like you said, it's no fault of their own. They were born into the system. But to try and say like, oh, of course they'd feel some sort of way. It's reasonable to assume they would not want to hear about the privileges that they so-called have, even though we all know, that they do. It's deeper than that. It's more so that they fully understand their privilege, and it angers them that to think that you could potentially take that away from them. So I think we need to go into it a little bit
I
more wide-eyed.
I get what I get what you're saying in that like there is a mistake that is easy to make, right, for liberals or people on the left broadly, that like
Yeah.
it's almost all up to them, and then there must, if things aren't going well, there must be something that they're doing. They're not communicating the rational thing. And yeah,
Right.
people are not like people, voters in general are just not like particularly rational. I think most politics is inherited from like your social groups, right?
Hmm.
um so I can agree with all that. The point that I'm making about like the way that the messaging is packaged, right, is to compete with, because what inspires like the racism and stuff from the right wing, um,
Is that they're
is
racist?
really, yeah, it is
It's
right,
really
and
just that.
but that it's also fed, right, by a culture and media apparatus that takes advantage of that, right, and
But again, more so from the
this,
racist side.
yeah, yeah,
Like we're
exactly.
attacking the tone of the left, but it's which yes, again, yes, sure. But the only reason that tone is so abrasive to them is because they're racist, or sexist or
It's okay. Yeah,
xenophobic or
I think
whatever else.
I
Yeah.
I think it's okay to
Sorry.
make people uncomfortable, right? I think it's necessary. People need to be uncomfortable. Look at the right. I mean, the right wing is pretty abrasive, and they have been abrasive, and they got the
Yeah,
power
they don't
because
care
they've
about
been
us.
abrasive.
They don't
Yeah,
care
I'm
about
not saying.
expanding their tent leftward. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not interested in like moving to the right or abandoning left wing values. I'm what 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 I'm more interested in is like, I think you can still be progressive and advocate affirmatively for progressive things without
mhm.
like, I don't know. I don't hang out with well, my friends are generally progressive because we're like-minded, right? When I enter a lot
Mhm.
of progressive spaces, I find myself annoyed with these people, right? For
Yeah.
And part of that comes down to like, I feel like yeah, we share values, but we share values because you're jerking yourself off, right? Like you
Mhm.
think that this makes you like cool and better than other people, right?
Mhm.
And
It's the
I do
masturbation
think,
of it all. Yes. Yes.
yeah, precisely. And I think that comes out, right, in a lot of like the culture war stuff, right? Where like the left had overwhelmingly won the culture war, and then they slowly lost it. And I think part of that came from like that kind of masturbatory instinct, right, to aggrandize oneself on like the moral superiority of like of your politics. And
But
there is
but
a
you hear
different.
what you're saying, right? It's not
Uh-huh.
that they weren't morally fucking superior.
They are, yeah.
It's
They
just that
100%
oh,
are.
you gloated about it. You're holier than thou about it. You're annoying, but they're
But
not even
that's,
contending with the fact that they're right. Like it's crazy to me. But
yeah,
I'm sorry, I
but
didn't mean to
I would
interrupt. But go
say,
ahead.
no, you're good. You're right, right. But I would say similarly, when you look at like the rise and fall of right wing movements in the United States, right? You have McCarthyism and a lot of like the conservative hysteria, right? In the
Mm,
50s, and then out of the 50s, you get the civil rights movement. You get like, you get that moral majority. You get Woodstock, all that kind of stuff, right? Post Reagan, right? You get a significant progressive leftward shift in the culture right after that as well, right? A lot of punk movements, um, like the rise of a lot of
Stonewall, all that. Yeah.
yeah, and the mainstreaming of a lot of black culture and as well. Um, I feel like, and then post Bush, of course, you have everything that happens with Obama, right? And when I look at like where these conservative movements tend to lose people, it is in like the preachy talking down to thing, right? I think that right now this like wave of right wing fascism that we're seeing right now, if you look kind of around the 2010s, right, and like the anti SJW stuff, and like Steve Bannon was pretty keen on this, like he was good about tapping into this. He understood like Gamergate was a thing that he paid
Mhm.
attention to, right?
Mhm.
A lot of the rise of this like sentiment came from like a um stop telling us what to do kind of thing. And now I think a lot of the fall is we have like insane theocrats, right, in office that are authoritarian in an authoritarian manner, dictating people's lives to them, right, in a
Mhm.
way that people just don't like, right? um
Mm.
so
Mhm.
the the thing I'm not saying like to abandon or compromise, right, the values, because the values are good and I think you should affirmatively support them. I think a good example of that is the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, right? Where there was that journalist, what's his name, Matthew Iglesias, and he's a liberal journalist, and he was against the Democrats making a big deal of the Garcia case because immigration is a losing issue for us. We don't poll well on it, right? We shouldn't make this like front and center. But when you have a good value, right, that that you believe in, that you're confident in, right, and that you can sell to most people, you can flip that around, and that's what happened. You had that I think he's a senator that went from Maryland that
Mhm.
went and got proof of life with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and they made a big deal of it, right? It went up to the Supreme Court, unanimous ruling to bring him back. There was a lot of public pressure. They brought him back. And where are the Democrats on immigration now? Above the Republicans, right? The Republicans are underwater on immigration right now, and that was like their winning issue, right? It is good to
Right.
affirmatively stand for things, right?
I
But
and I don't have an
yeah.
issue about this stance. I think it's more so that once we are proven to be morally superior, not just we're talking the talk and we're, proselytizing essentially. Like the prophecies have come true. Everything we said
Yeah,
would happen and
came
we're
true.
on the
Yeah,
soapbox about has
and
happened.
and then
You know,
some. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm kind of to a point where why? What's the point then in trying to mitigate, minimize, make malleable, just to keep with the alliteration? Like, what's the point of doing that with our messaging, with our tone, with anything at this point? Because I feel like there's still this remnant of the they go low, we go high bullshit that fucked us up in the first
Yeah.
place.
I'm not
With
interested in that.
Yeah, when they go low, we need to start going to hell. And I think that
Yeah.
when we act like, oh, now that we've been proven once again to be the morally correct and morally superior and the group that history will look back on most fondly in this whole scenario,
Mhm.
I feel like there's going to be this huge pressure to do exactly what you're saying. Like, oh, let's look to when we were in the right before and we were seen to be gloating about it, or we were seen to be too hard on the people who were they got it wrong, but that us kind
No,
of tell them
I
how
think there needs
right
to
we
be
were.
there needs to be. I'm not saying
Uh-huh.
I think there needs to be punishment, right? Like I think there needs to be consequences. I think that
Yeah.
Republicans need to feel that they're wrong because
Yeah,
being
we
too
need to be
soft on
I
them is
told you
what.
soing
But
hard as hell
yeah,
right now. I told you so.
y-
Kamala Harris told you
yes.
so. Yeah.
What I would like if the Democrats could do is kind of like if they had with the Republicans. Things are a little bit different now because Trump is pretty unpopular. But the whole litmus test for Republicans, it's an easy pass or fail check, right? Do you love the taste of Donald Trump's balls in your mouth, right? If the answer is yes, you're in the club, right? That's all you needed.
Right.
With Democrats, it's not super clear, right? Like what is this part of my problem, like the kind of like expand the Big Tent thinking. I think part of the problem is that Democrats there's not a core philosophy, right? So I believe in the leave like we need to the leave people alone messaging is effective, and also there needs to be like a core moral center, right, for whatever the Democratic Party is, like a suite of values that every Democrat from Virginia to New York can agree. Probably these are the things that we're about, right? And sometimes it's not super clear like what like the party's mission is. When I think about Republicans, I know
Right.
I can even though Trump doesn't really have a vision for the country because he's like just kind of a self-serving moron.
Right.
I know exactly what kind of society Peter Thiel wants. I know exactly what kind of society like evangelicals want. I know exactly what kind of society
Even Trump, what he wants. Everything serving him, more money,
yeah,
more women, more whatever to him,
exactly. And
more
I know exactly
children.
what kind of society Nazis want. Yeah, true,
Right.
right. And
Right.
to the further left, also people I don't really care for politically, like communists. I know exactly what kind of society they want. What kind of society do liberals want? It's a little bit hard, right, to say because
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like liberals are broadly kind of like all over the place, right?
Oh, but that's a good point though, what you said earlier about the whole leave them alone thing. That's liberalism. That's all liberalism
It
is. Just
is.
leave people the fuck alone. Let people do
I
what
don't
they're
think
gonna
it's
do.
enough.
I agree, and I agree, but I also feel
Yeah.
like I don't think it's taking a rightward or leftward position to go the other way. Like, because, like you said,
Mhm.
communists, socialists, tankies are very clear. So
Yeah.
it's not about let things lie, let things be, like liberalism kind of inherently is, but it's
Mhm.
also not. So it's not a right
Where
or
are we
left
going?
thing to go the other way. And I definitely feel like that starts with standing on our high horse and absolutely not leaving them alone, digging in their ass about how wrong they were, how they screwed us all up, how, they need to be prosecuted. If you voted for Trump, you should be in jail.
So
Like we
I
shouldn't.
I
I'm
kind
being
yeah.
I'm being very
Sure.
vitriolic, okay? But like
Mhm.
I absolutely think that it starts with us standing on our laurels a little bit more than we ever have, because it seems like they try to tell us, "Oh, you lose people with that." But who are we losing? The fucking people we're against in the first
I
place. So again, I
I
don't
kind
care.
of like my ideal, like, okay, how do we handle this thing? I don't know that this would be politically possible. It would be nice if we had like a broad coalition where we could absorb some of the working class people in these red areas and use a supermajority to like kind of dismantle the anti-majoritarian structures of our government. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I think part of the problem with being a liberal is that you're you're operating in a political system that's really against like the interests of densely populated urban areas and people in general who have like liberal values, because you have the Senate, which is
It's
like
racism.
yeah, true, it is. uh and a lot of it is also one second. A lot of it is also compromise
You okay?
in the founding of the government. Yeah, I was just choking on something I was eating. um
Be
a
careful.
lot of it is also compromise. Yeah, I'll survive. It's compromise that was made in the founding of this nation because southern slave owning states were like, well, what about us, right?
Hmm.
We don't like this. So a lot of it is a function of
You just
racism. But
cut out a little bit.
so
I'm sorry.
every state
What's the last thing you
gets
said?
two. Oh,
You just cut out a little bit.
I said you have in our government you have the Senate, right, which is anti-majoritarian by nature. Every state gets two
Too right.
representatives regardless of population, right? Which is to hold back the tyranny of the majority. Whatever, fine. Let's accept that, right? And then on top of that, you have the filibuster, also pretty anti-majoritarian, right? Needing basically 60 votes to advance anything is a pretty big hang-up. And then in the House, which is supposed to be the kind of population proportioned chamber of Congress, right? That is supposed to be more majoritarian. You have gerrymandering, which is running rampant, and on top of
It was capped. Yeah. Adam, you keep cutting out pretty badly. Can you hear me?
that, you have
Adam,
yeah.
like, can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Like for like 10
Hello?
seconds, like you
Yeah,
you were quiet. I heard you say like
yeah.
you got gerrymandering, and then on top of that, I'm assuming you were gonna get into the whole
The capped house.
capping thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, which has been that way for like since the 20s for no real good reason other than it's politically convenient for Republicans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Republicans are allowed to get away with a lot more because the structure of government benefits them, and I do not think it is a winning strategy to move to the right, right? No matter what fucking Ezra Klein says or anybody else, I don't think that is a winning strategy because the Republicans. Oh, am I still here? Okay.
Yep, I can hear you.
The Republicans have a thing that they assertively advocate for, and they make it popular, right? I think the Democrats can do that as well. But I do think that we kind of probably need these kind of rural working class voters to even begin to like actually address some of these structural problems, because otherwise we can't get a large enough majority to pass like amendments to rectify some of these issues, to uncap the House by statute, to like there's just a lot of moves that might be unpopular, right? And maybe in the short term will lose Democrats some electoral power that it just needs to happen, right? Expanding the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
packing the courts, that probably needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can get there just relying on the Democratic base. That's kind of my concern.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like we're kind of shoo-ins for the first time in
Yeah.
a long time because of how bad. Oh, good night. But yeah, because of how bad they've screwed stuff up. Like I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that we'll have that supermajority quite soon, no matter what we do. So I feel
possible.
like I think it's highly possible, and so given that we're on track for that, let's. I don't think we need to run on any of these things. I was just talking to Mundangerous, Shade, and he had some really good points about that. Like he would agree with you. I think like let's just do whatever we have to do. If we have to kowtow, and yes, just leave them alone. And sure, okay, yes, it was right. Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's get in power. Let's get back in power. Let's get that supermajority. And then we can go in and include
Go crazy.
trans rights in a budget bill, or
Yeah.
or slip in the more progressive things that we shouldn't be running on per se. And so I thought that was a really interesting point. But so I agree with you. I hear you loud and clear. I guess I just feel like once we're able to kind of rebalance the scales a bit, either do something about or get rid of altogether the filibuster, like you said, uncap the House, open up the Senate, open up the Supreme Court. There's so many things that we could do just to kind of get us back to where, not even like that the majority of the people are making the decisions, but that the people most impacted by shit will be able to vote on and have that vote mean something on things that are affecting them the most. So it's even outside of, I guess, a majority minority thing, and more so about, I think, the impact, sort of a
Proper
mission.
representation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, I'm all for the Democrat states gerrymandering right now in response to Republicans.
Hell yeah.
I'm also totally about a gerrymandering ban, like a fair redistricting law that's made statute, right? Nonpartisan commissions, like that kind of thing. That for sure also needs to happen, because it is insane that you can go to like black majority states in the South, and now Republicans are drawing districts where there's 0 black majority districts in a state that's 60% black. Like, well, this is obviously skewed to disenfranchise a specific group of people, right? Because
Exactly.
it's totally inconvenient.
Well,
So,
now the Supreme Court says that that's legal. So yeah, insane.
yeah, which is why unfortunately, which is why it needs to be enshrined like in law by statute, right? And that that's the kind of thing that Democrats need to do when they have like not just 51-49 Senate. They need like a 60 Senate, to be honest. I don't think we'll have 60 senators this go around, but pick up whatever seats you can. There's a lot of red districts that are in unpredictable elections, swapping blue. A lot of the gerrymandering stuff that the Republicans are doing now is scary, but also they are diluting their
I was just gonna
majorities
say,
in
like,
some of these. Yeah,
like
It's
I'm
risky.
of the mind almost to be like, go ahead, sure,
yeah, let them do it.
yes, no, don't do that. Like I'm almost like,
Yeah.
because
Especially
you're right,
with
like
some of
that.
these, yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, especially with some of these like districts where a lot of them were won by Hispanic votes. I'm in Miami. The opinion has flipped. Okay, and,
Sure.
people are feeling differently now. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, people have a little bit different opinions now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think that big Latin push towards Trump, the black push towards Trump, as small as it was, I think all that's pretty much out the window for most minorities. I wish it were all. I wish everybody would have come to their senses, but it's so weird to me that there is such a huge contingent of marginalized groups that are still very pro Trump. Like, I'll never understand that. I really won't. Like, I get
Yeah,
it. I get the
I
grift. I
think.
get the contrarianism or whatever. But
Well, I'll make fun of I, okay. I don't. I have to politically. I have to make fun of Cubans, right? Like Miami Cubans make me laugh so hard because like they
hugely
vote for the
conservative.
kind. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they vote for the kind of strongman politics, right? That ruin their country in the first place, right?
Exactly.
A lot of
Yep.
these Latin Americans do it. Too. Yeah, they're like, okay, that country that I left, pretty fucked up for all these reasons. Now, anyway, let me indulge in the exact same instincts, right? That led to the authoritarian takeover of my nation, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
Cubans are like unique to deal with. I don't know if you're ever gonna make Cubans Democrats. I don't know if it's possible.
Do we
Because
again? I don't
there's a lot of
care.
communism. Well,
I don't give a fuck.
I think younger Cubans, but yeah, the communism
Yeah.
trauma is crazy. Like my
Like
girlfriend's
Destiny.
Cuban, and yeah, true. And her grandfather's a very intelligent man. He's not stupid, right? But he will never ever be a Democrat. It's not possible. The Cuban government. The thing is that one, he watches like these psychotic news channels in Spanish. I'll sit down and watch it with him, and it's like, it's like the communists in Cuba. Cuba's like Auschwitz without the gas, right? That was the thing that they were saying last time I was at his place. I was like, holy shit, it's just insane
Wow.
propaganda, right?
Yikes.
Yeah. And how the Democrats are communists. He legitimately believed that when Joe Biden was president, right, that the country had fallen to a communist dictatorship, and he was so distressed that my girlfriend voted for Biden. He was like, because he loves my girlfriend, right? Like that's his favorite family member. He likes her more than he likes either any of the other grandchildren or any of his children, right? Because he thinks all his children are stupid.
That's hilarious. Rafi, hi.
Hey. And like
Okay.
yeah. Huh. And the communist label, right? Like anything remotely associated with communism, that guy just can never get behind it because he was outspoken against the Cuban government, against Castro. He was like almost stabbed to death like 3 times. He has like a
Oh, God.
he was in Guantanamo back when it was owned by Cuba, like in prison, right? Like he has, and a lot of Cubans have family stories like this. Even if it didn't happen to them, it happened to a grandparent, it happened to like an uncle, right? So there's like this like hysterical fear of communism, right? That the Republicans exploit, right? And a lot of these like Spanish news channels or these Spanish broadcast channels are owned by conservative conservative media groups. And they just blast
Interesting.
insane propaganda out to these people, right? And a lot of these people, especially the older Cubans, right, their English is not so good. Most of the media they consume is in Spanish, so a lot of like the more factual reality and like better reporting that you'd get in something like the Associated Press, it's just not happening. It's not they're not receiving it. What they're receiving is they turn on the TV and there's this Cuban guy just saying insane lies, right, the entire time in Spanish, and like, well, I can't believe the Democrats are, cutting kids' dicks off, right?
Right.
And taking
When they come
all
home
that
from
tax money
school.
it just, it's communism all over again. They're gonna come for all of our freedoms and blah 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 blah, right?
I didn't realize that at all.
Yeah, it's a problem, especially with South
Wow.
Florida. I think one of the reasons why Democrats struggle so much down here is that like you're competing with a media apparatus that Republicans have built up for decades, right? That Democrats have not even attempted to respond to.
Yo, right? Right?
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. Like, Guy, what's up, girl?
Hey, guy.
Hey, Guy. But I guess that's the whole thing. Like, another thing, like for the Democrats to be so up in the air about, what should we do? What do we do? Why did this happen? Like, I never would have landed on that. Like, I wonder if anybody's actually talked to that community to understand what kind of media they're consuming, or why has there not been a more concerted effort to have much more Spanish language media or translation efforts, or even like ESL services, or like whatever, to really I guess like really not just tap into but help a community that they do, I know, care about. So it's just, that's wild to me to hear this, because I did not know any of that
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, it's bad. For as bad as Fox News is, right? Those like Spanish news channels are way more insane. They make Fox News look normal.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a difficult. It's a tough nut to crack. And a lot of the Democrats. One of the reasons why I'm not like I'm a little bit disillusioned with Florida Democrats, especially South Florida Democrats, is like I feel like so much of what they do is like, guys, we're not communists, I promise, right? And like that's kind of, they're always on the defense, right? They're always like, guys, we promise we're not communists. Please stop calling us communists, right?
Oh.
And yeah, and for Cubans and Venezuelans too, right? That's just like a death sentence, right? Having that concept in their minds. And then there's a religiosity thing there too. And then one of the other things that I think
Sure.
Democrats underestimate when it comes to a lot of it depends. Different countries are different, but there's a lot of racism in the Hispanic community, particularly in places like Cuba, where the Spanish colorism and their whole system, mulatto, mestizo, all that shit. It has had like a pretty like long-standing effect on the way that these people see things, right? Like I've known Cuban girls that will date an Ecuadorian, right? And they're like, why? Their parents will say like, why would you ruin your genes with like a darker person, right? Because Ecuadorians are more like Native American, and like that's like not even like a crazy like, oh my god, this person is so racist. No, that's pretty normal. That's a pretty normal sentiment, at least in my experience down here. And people say some pretty insane shit.
Wow.
So
Wait, are
that's
you
another
on
thing.
the
Yeah.
darker side, or like do you have to contend with some of that?
I'm not dark enough that a Cuban would have a problem with me. I look pretty ethnically ambiguous, right? I've heard people accuse me of being Italian, just because my mom is white and my dad is Arab, so it's just kind of. I would say I'm white passing in a city, but when I go to like my mom's hometown, I am not at all. That's yeah, because there's levels to whiteness. You're a very very white area.
Absolutely.
They can tell. They can tell if you had like a
Levels to
great-grandparent,
whiteness
right?
is, I'm gonna name a band that.
Yeah.
I hear you though.
Yeah, I remember when my girlfriend and I started dating, right? And she mentioned that I was from Morocco, and people don't know where Morocco is, and she says it's a country in North Africa, right?
Yes, but
She
you're
was surprised.
African American.
Yeah. Well, she was getting like she got a few questions about like, well, all right, how dark is it, right? Like what's going on? Africa.
Oh my god.
My mom got the same kind of questions when she started dating my dad.
Oh
We were very
wow.
concerned that he would be black, which is apparently a big problem.
Wow. I mean, she should have leaned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an African American from
Well, that's
Africa.
yeah, that's what her aunt did. Her aunt went around telling the whole family I was black, even though she knew I wasn't, because she thought it would be funny.
That's crazy. Which is,
Yeah.
in some ways, kind of sad, but also,
Yeah, it is. It
good
is
for
sad
her.
that
Good
it's
for
like a
her.
shock, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wild. Yeah, but colorism with and it's funny because like I don't think Americans understand that at all, that
Mhm.
there is white and black in Latin America. Like
Yeah.
distinctly white and black. So like somebody, like I was talking to somebody and they were like, yeah, Pedro Pascal, I saw a guy on the street the other day. He looked like a white Pedro Pascal. And I was like, Pedro Pascal is white. And they were like, no, he's not. He's Spanish. I'm like, yeah, but he's white. He's a white Spanish
Yeah.
person. Like, and they could not grasp this, and I was like, how do we not understand that? Like, so it's
Yeah,
weird to me, like in the
mhm.
hierarchy of American race, like they still see, even though they're white, they still see them as like lower on the totem pole because
On
they're
the rung, yeah.
Spanish. So they don't even classify them as white, as the pinnacle of it. So it's absolutely crazy to me. Like, I wonder if that's a step that we could take in the discourse or in the kind of bringing together of our communities. Just to
Yeah,
like maybe that's the vote
yeah.
we try to get. Fuck MAGA, fuck the
Why?
fringe centrists.
Mhm.
Let's go for the Spanish people.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely more inroads that can be made there. White identity is a difficult thing to tackle
So,
because it's like I feel like whiteness is defined by what it excludes a little bit in the United States,
mhm,
and also the American
mhm.
concept of whiteness is pretty unique. If you go to Europe, it's not the same at all, right?
No, not at all.
Europeans will say heinous things about other people that are also white. They're from
Hmm.
like a different country, right? Like I
Absolutely.
think yeah, I don't think Americans really understand how different racism is in other places. Not to say it doesn't
No.
exist. It's very strong. It's very powerful overseas. Even in Morocco, there's a whole there's a tier list of trustworthiness in Morocco,
Hmm.
um, based on like ethnicity. Surprisingly, the Arab majority is not on the top of that tier list. Um,
Really?
but yeah, it's changed now because of the Israel stuff. But when I was growing up,
Oh.
my grandfather would always tell me, and this is a pretty common sentiment. Morocco has always been one of the more Jewish friendly Arab countries, but that like if you're doing business, you would always want to do it with a Jewish person, right, or a Berber, right? Despite the fact that, especially for the Berbers, or Amazigh, but especially for the Berbers, like they're historically in Morocco oppressed by the Arab majority, but they're seen as more trustworthy because they have like a, a really really strong honor culture. Like if you lie in business, right, you could get disowned by your family, right?
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then but even within the Berber tribes, there's a lot of different kinds of tribes, and there's different kinds of discrimination that different kinds of tribes face. If you go down south in the desert, you have the Tuareg, who are like tribes that are kind of have roots in Mali. They're black, right? So
Mhm.
they're gonna get treated differently. It's unfortunately it's just the case. Um,
Mm.
so like I don't know. You have granular like ethnic discrimination kind of all over the world.
Mm.
Japan is seen as as a monoculture, right? But the majority ethnic group there just kind of genocided the other ones, right? There's like
Yeah.
two
We don't
left,
really
I think, of the
we don't
other.
really get into
Yeah,
that.
the Ainu. Yeah, exactly, right. Like,
Oh God.
um, yeah. Uh,
Which is wild
just
because like,
American racism is interesting.
but then didn't the Japanese do that to the Chinese? And then now the
Hmm.
Chinese are doing that to the Uyghurs.
Yeah,
It's like
one of the worst.
a weird
There's not like a lot
cycle.
of. Yeah, I feel like one of the worst instincts in human beings in general is like the strong desire to like make to define one's value by like contrasting it with others, be like I'm different from other people, my group is superior, right, we are like
Hmm.
heirs to the earth, fuck everybody else, and that's how I know I'm valuable, right?
Right.
This like comparison thing. I think it's kind of like this more kind of mass societal version of when you meet somebody and you can just tell that like the way that they determine whether or not they like their self-esteem is 100% determined by like their comparison to other people. Am I richer than
Mm-hmm.
this other person? Am I better looking than this other person? Right?
Hmm.
Like do people think I'm funnier than this other person? The constant calculus of like what is my status in the social hierarchy? This kind of
Yeah.
mentality, I think it manifests itself on a large scale as this kind of ethnic supremacy mindset, right? People
Adam,
don't really have a
Adam,
problem with. Mhm.
you literally are saying, like, I wish I could have summed up my point from earlier as well as you just
Mhm.
succinctly did. Like, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like the right or the people who feel some sort of way about the arrogance or the tone of the left. Again,
Mhm.
it has fuck all to do with how they were spoken to. It has everything to do with exactly what you said. They don't want to lose that status. They don't want to be pushed out of the in group, you know? So I mean, like, yeah, like
So
apply that same
I
sentiment, I think, downward or even in
I
American
I
politics.
I agree.
Yeah, go.
I agree with you that that is ultimately like the source of like I was gonna say right
Yeah.
wing racism, but just racism broadly speaking,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The 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 thing that like I would the thing that I posit for like liberals is that they need to put forth their own kind of positive identity, right?
Mm.
Um, for Americans, right? People don't like being told what to do with their lives, or they don't like feeling like they're being told what to do with their lives, but they actually do like having things decided for them, right?
Hmm.
They just want to feel
Or
like
having
that that's not the
direction.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, fascism, theocracy, these things give you that, right? There's like a you are part of this group, right, that has like this mission and is defined by this place in the world, right?
Hmm.
And there is not any of that with liberals or liberalism, right? So
Hmm.
I think that like defining, you know, it gets tricky because when you begin to try and like ground out an identity for your nationality, for like Americans broadly speaking, right? Um, there's I feel like there's always a way that you can take advantage. Manifest Destiny is a good example. Even if you like remove the racial thing from Manifest Destiny, right? I think that what happened in Iraq is a little bit like a grandchild, like a descendant of Manifest Destiny, right? There's
Mm.
this if you like listen to like interviews and read read things that Republicans at the State Department said about Iraq during the war, there was like this mentality in the Republican Party at this time that like America is ontologically good because we are the most powerful nation on earth, right? We have so much money, everything is awesome here,
Might makes
right?
right.
And
Hmm.
yeah, and if we go and fuck up other places, we'll just make them better, right? Like it'll actually be better and it'll be good for them because it's like, you know, it is kind of like a Manifest Destiny thing. Like we're civilizing these other peoples, right?
Right. The
What
savages.
what yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of American soldiers
Who
when
have so
when they
much
went to
more money than
Iraq,
us. So much more culture than
yeah,
us. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. Um, I think a lot of American soldiers that went to Iraq were expecting like you know, I don't know, when you storm the beaches of Normandy and you show up in France and all the French people are so grateful, right? And you're getting kisses on the cheek. They thought it was gonna be something like that. That is not what happened, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
My brother went to
and
Afghanistan. Um,
mhm.
Same sentiment. Yeah. Like huge culture shock for not for him. I think he's a little bit wiser, you know, but he like he said a lot of people were really surprised that they had a difficult time of it, you know. So I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
my
So I get
my
your point.
on my mom's side, I have a lot of members of my family that were in the military, and my uncle,
Mm.
he was a sniper, and he's done more deployments than I think anybody I've ever known. He did Iraq and Afghanistan, both Gulf wars, and
Oh
one of the
wow.
things he said about Iraq was like, I remember talking to him about that war, and he was like, yeah, I mean they lied to us, it's bullshit, right? Like we should like we weren't going in there for the reasons that they said. But when he was in Iraq, he was like, no, but these people need our help, right? Which is a dangerous mentality to have because
Mm.
it's like, yeah, look, I understand what you're saying that this is a country and a society that has a lot of fucking problems, right?
Hmm.
I promise you, having the American military go in there to play hero is not going to work. It's even if
Right.
that is your sincere intent as a soldier, brother, you don't know anything about this culture. You don't know anything about the history
You
of this
don't know
society. Right? It
anything
is, yeah.
exactly, and you don't ask, and
Mhm.
you don't even seek to
Yeah, you
understand
just
what the
assume
needs are.
that
Yeah.
my values are the best. Everybody's gonna want to get down with my values, right? Therefore, you know, I can just impose my will on like on this nation, and they're gonna thank me for it. That's not how it goes,
Hmm.
man. That is just not how it goes. You know,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So you know, I think it can be difficult. I think liberals struggle to put together like what is the identity for an American because
Hmm.
I think there's a reasonable fear on the left that like no matter what identity you stake out, it's going to be taken advantage of for like that kind of mentality. Like we're special, fuck these other people.
Hmm.
But there needs to be something. There has to be some like some affirmative identity. Like this is what it means to be an American, right? and you can be proud of this, right? Because otherwise, people are going to look for something else. They're going to look for race. They're going to look for religion. They're going to look for something else. I think inspiring a positive sense of like patriotism and civic duty, right? Civic nationalism. This is. It's not even just like it's a good thing. It's probably necessary for like the long term
Yeah.
success of any kind of political movement.
Well, and to do what you just said, to build that identity,
Mhm.
to have a better understanding of not only where it came from, but how you have a hand in shaping it and molding it. I love that. So to be fair, I feel like this whole conversation started because we were like, "Oh, your workshop."
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
But when addressing it with people, especially if it's going to be more of like a lecture style, maybe that's the thing is like is in the ways that you're proposing that these violations of the Constitution, later the Bill of Rights, how they personally affect people. Maybe it starts with that being answered by the people you're talking to, like genuinely before jumping into the thing of the thing. Have that sort of temperature check right away. Like, okay, today we're going to be talking about the emoluments clause or whatever. So you might think it's just about not accepting gifts, but it could also mean that you're opening the door to trade deals in foreign countries being shifted differently just because of a person's whim, because they're able to bribe the person in power essentially. And personally, that affected my life. My family works in furniture, and so we had to deal with all these
Nice.
different tariffs and trade deals. So
Mhm,
something
same here.
as nebulous as that touched me. How about you? Have you seen this kind of thing show up in your world in any kind of way? Oh yeah, my grocery prices went from this to this, or whatever.
Mhm.
So I think maybe just kind of having that initial touch point before you jump into the lesson of it might be a really cool like way to start to formulate your itinerary for your Monday shows. Just a recommendation. Like I know you popped in because you were curious about this. Like this particular one is more for just like space. It's not really to impart anything. It's more so to
I see.
have like people talk to us. So like as the host of a writer's workshop, we're doing my intention. My intention for this is come in, set a goal for what you want to accomplish, really take a good 90-minute chunk of time and get to work. And then we'll take 15 minutes and give feedback, run it through, talk about points, give constructive criticism, share ideas,
I see.
So I feel like we've just been doing that this whole time, basically.
Mhm.
So the
On
last
like an
15
abstract level, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still achieving my aims, even though I'm not, personally writing something right now. The hope is that, you walk away with more solidity in how you want to move forward with your project. So,
Right.
I hope we've
Granting of the
accomplished.
consequences.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope we've accomplished that to a degree, but in looking at that sort of objective versus how to reach it, figuring out Z so you can get to A, I think that's really maybe where the next steps lie in how you start to again build that sort of replicable, cyclical, run of show for your workshop. So that's where again I think it might be valuable to start with that user engagement, because it
Yeah.
sounds like the goal is to help that person understand how it touched their life, and I think you can jump into that more quickly than maybe you even assumed. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
I definitely think about how I can integrate that more in the beginning, because that is more kind of in the body, like those consequences.
Mhm.
What I kind of opened with my workshop is basically because I remember Tribot was talking about this, that there's a lot of kind of political like doomerism, cynicism, with
Mhm.
people on the left, and I kind of geared a lot of this toward like an answer to that, right?
Yeah.
This concept of like both sides are corrupt, the system is rigged, voting doesn't matter, like there's nothing we can do, this is just how it's gonna be, right? um and making sure that people understand like no, there is a that you have power, right? Like you have a lot more power than uh than you appreciate. um and making sure that people understand that. And I think part of and part of how I want to make people understand it is understanding what the three branches of government are, why it is
Hmm.
the way it is, right? And what
Yeah.
where their place in that system is. But yeah, I want to see if maybe I can also with the material consequences. I have some of that, but
Well, like, to be fair, I didn't quite gather that. Like, when you were first presenting, like when you kind of gave the elevator speech of what it was,
yeah.
that's what I thought that the ultimate goal
Mhm.
was the tie to the relational aspect of it, like how this is impacting me as a
It's
citizen.
part of it. It's an
But
important
it,
part of it for sure.
but I feel like what you just said is not only way more powerful, but also I think um maybe a stronger goal or objective of the overarching effort, so that that idea that you're empowering, that you're settling down the doom scrolling, um
Mhm.
I think that's huge. And I also think that's that, given that there's probably more people who are black pilled than people who are finding it difficult to find the connection between what's what the unconstitutionality of what he's doing and how it's personally impacting them, because so many more people are personally impacted. That lends me
Mhm.
to maybe double down then on that recommendation. Like I think you absolutely could start with the setting the setting the I don't know, just setting the foundation of the day's workshop, or that session's workshop, with the relational aspect, because then I think it ties them in. It lets them know where the lesson is going to be impactful for them. They can see themselves in it. And then as you start to teach, uh, like the more lecture style part of it, I could see them moving away from the black pilling, away from the doomerism, with more
Mhm.
information that they're already bought into because they see how it affects them. So, I mean, just to translate that into an actual like potential run a show, I'd say definitely start with that. Maybe even your own personal connection to then bridge the gap for them to start talking about their relational aspect to the unconstitutionality, move into the work or the actual lecture piece, and then maybe wrap with another kind of touch point or check in. Uh, so it sounded like the relational stuff would have gone here, but since it's going first, then the last part can just kind of be like a more of an emotional appeal. Like, hey, how is this landing on you? How are you going to move differently moving forward? What are some ways that we can, um, maybe even with digital ground game, affect political action that can make changes in this very thing that we're so, uh, well informed on now because you've done such a good job with this lesson. Um, so maybe again, that's how, if I were to put this together from scratch, I think that's how I would try to organize it. But take from that what you will.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think you're
lot.
right. I think I should work in like a call to action, like a more explicit one, because
Hmm.
I have something like it, but not like a this is what you can do, right? Just like a hey, midterms matter. Um, but that's not exactly the same thing.
No, I don't think I meant to do that.
What's up?
My brother was calling me and I was trying to turn it off for a second, but I don't know what's going on there. But no, I think that's a good thing. And I don't think you have to rack your brain as to what that CTA is. I think maybe that's a collective action that you do at the end. So now that we know this thing, the best ways to affect this thing would be, getting out the vote or signing a petition or
Yeah.
talking to your
Also,
senator or whatever. Hmm.
even just directing people to Digital Ground Game from, because one of the things BJ
Sure.
and I talked about is doing running the workshop in here first, and then doing it like kind of the main Destiny community server, right? You know, having the workshop try and funnel even more people from that community, right, into like a more active role in Digital Ground Game, like as volunteers that are working on projects. That could be good too.
Well, you got the right one in here. I don't know if Kai's listening, but she's an excellent person too. And I know she's been in the thread too, so she probably knows that this is a thought. But she's an excellent person to reach out to about that transition into the larger world of DGG.
Yeah.
Yo, I just wanted to pop in if I could.
Hey, Nerd.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh,
Of course. Yeah, we can hear
I
you.
go. No, I go first.
Well, I was gonna say my plan is originally once we get like templates going, I'm planning on doing a series of topics this summer and just do like a good like summer workshops going,
Ooh,
and
nice.
stuff like that. So that's like a big thing. I don't know
Yeah,
how you
that's what-
feel about that, Adam. I haven't talked to you yet about it, but
I'm
that's
all-
just,
I'm
like,
all
something
for
I'm
it.
planning on doing it. Yeah.
It sounds because
Yes.
you mentioned before that you were interested in doing more stuff in the summer because college students are more likely to be out of school, right? So it might be a good time to engage people.
Yeah, because like one of the topics I want to do is how to build a resume. I think that's good for college students.
Ah,
Mhm.
nice.
Yes, please. Pray.
Nerd. We're just
Another
talking
one I
about
want
that.
to do eventually within the summer workshops is like how to phonic and how to canvas. So that's another one that might be together. And then other topics along with that can be like after that too. But I know there's like things I particularly want to do to help with like a lot of. So we're gonna be extremely busy this summer, so providing those resources will be good for the entire org and stuff like that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm super down for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was just gonna make 2 quick suggestions of. It was talked about for centering around people's stories, but as far as I'm aware, the fastest way to do that is to just get them to start complaining, because complaining often leads to the point at which you don't understand, and then when they reach the point when you see the point that they are missing, then you switch to the Socratic method and you just start asking them questions around that point. So you kind of like lead them to it instead of telling them. If that makes sense.
Through their complaint.
But-
Yeah. What is the thing
that's
that's
just
pissing you off?
my thing.
What's your second thing? Or Adam, I'm sorry, were you responding to that?
Oh, I mean, that was basically it. It's just those 2, and I mean, there's many other strategies, of course, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, walking. One of the things that I've ran into with, because I interact with like a lot of right wingers, conservatives. Miami is a very politically mixed city. It's an interesting place, and one of the things that I run into that is frustrating to me is that like what Nurk is describing, it is the better way to do it. Kind of like talk to people at eye level about what their problems are and kind of guide them through what you think the real source of these problems are, and how what they're saying or what they're blaming might not actually serve them, right? And you can get somebody to agree, and even like I've had people in conversation admit that they were wrong, right? And that like they have their opinion basically 180 by the end of the conversation, and I feel good about that. And then like 2 days later, they're saying the same thing that they were before I talked to them, because I can't compete with like overwhelming social media algorithms, right? Like there's I would have to talk. I would have to be a roommate with this person and talk to them every single fucking day, right? For any of this stuff to stick,
Yeah, at some point it becomes a teach a man how to fish scenario, but
yeah,
for at least that initial thing, what y'all were talking about, centering around that person's story, is like that's grassroots 101. Yeah.
True,
Makes
but
sense.
I guess the thing to keep in mind above all is well, just that we're luckily, no matter what you do, you're more likely than not in this space, even in Destiny server, I'd say, more likely to have like-minded folks, you know. So you're not going to get too much in the way of that just baked in opposition. Um, and also just keep in mind you can't reason somebody out of an argument that they never reasoned themselves into. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like you could throw their explanations for why they're doing a thing out the window once you start to see how hypocritical they are, and just know for a fact that it's probably something more insidious. They're probably just racist or sexist or whatever it is. They might not even like, I call these people, some of these people, like sixth sense racists. Like there's so many people who, if you tell them, hey, you're being a racist, I'm not racist. I'm the least racist person I know. But doing the most racist shit. So it's kind of like
Yeah. The
that's the
frustrating thing
real
with that
reason,
is,
you know. Yeah, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. The frustrating thing with that is like, I don't even. These people aren't even lying, right? They just don't. Like
Yeah,
a lot of times, it's like you don't understand yourself at all. You don't know why you do any of the things that you do you? Right?
right.
They don't like thinking about these things. I've run into
It's
this with like
priming.
yeah, yeah. So some of my girlfriend's family members are like this, where like when you want to have like when the conversation starts getting into a place that's like more introspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like a little bit more like just internally analytical. They get some of these people get really really uncomfortable and they want to shut it down as fast as they can. They don't want to think about
Yep.
it, right?
Yep.
Um, I think it's a there's a lot of it that goes into it, social conditioning, the way that you're raised, right? But a lot of it is fear of the unknown, right? If you're not familiar with the process of like thinking about these things, deliberating and introspecting, it's gonna feel like you're you're in a scary place. You're entering like kind of like scary territory because you don't understand how to navigate it. There's a
Yeah.
thing that I think there's a I forget if it was a study or just like an article or something where men are feel like don't like couples like counseling and don't like couples therapy. They feel disadvantaged in that environment because men are not socialized with a lot of like the kind of emotional tools that women are, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and women in general are just better at navigating their own emotions because they're I mean there is the whole be seen not heard thing, but as a woman it is more socially permissible, right, to be emotional. With men it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're permitted like anger, right, or apathy. Those are like the manly emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is like gay, I guess.
Yay.
And yeah, that's basically how male social conditioning is.
Well,
um
but
and
real
I think
quick,
because
because
a lot of
I
go
think
ahead.
this is important. Real quick.
Mhm.
That's normal men. I
Yeah.
literally just saw a study that people who commit domestic violence or are abusive to their partners, um, they tend to actually champion therapy. They feel like
Mhm.
if they can, show that they're making an effort, even though they'll never actually listen to a fucking word that the therapist is saying or
Yeah,
recommending, they'll be like, "Look, I'm trying. I'm
I've
doing
seen this. Yeah.
everything," and she's still, So that's normal men. I would say like for anybody out there, if you're in a relationship, it's not going well, and your dude is recommending therapy, that's a big red flag, actually. So,
Yeah,
but no,
yeah,
keep going.
it can be an excuse to not actually like change because it's the appearance of
Exactly.
trying or making change without actually doing it. Yeah,
Exactly.
I've run into this like, exact thing before.
Mm.
I know dudes like this, but um, and they are pretty abusive. The the but for most guys, right, that are socialized in this kind of emotionally stunted way, when they step
Yeah.
into like a couples counseling environment, right, it's like the woman is an emotional black belt and the guy just showed up for his first day at class, right? And they a lot of times will not want to go back because they're like, I was just getting dogged on that entire time and I wasn't able to express myself at all because they don't even know how to, right? um
Mm.
I think
That's
that with
sad.
cons yeah, it is. It's definitely a problem. It's a problem with the way we raise guys.
Well, it's also
The
bad
the
therapists. Like
That's true.
You got to be a really bad therapist to make somebody
But
feel
also,
that
I
ostracized. Yeah.
think
Okay.
I think if you're a woman and you're a therapist, right, you would just take for granted that certain things are the norm for how you communicate. Um, it's like an implicit bias. But the guys do this in a different way, right? With like with the ways that they communicate, right? There is, you know, especially when you see women in the way that they conduct their friendships. There's a in a lot of assumptions and that they will make about like how often you talk to your friends, right? How much you know about your friends, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
how many questions you ask about your friends because women get more, I think, into like the kind of emotional meat of like of a friendship, of a relationship, than men
Yeah.
do. Uh, and I find that like a lot of women are pretty shocked by how uh, disengaged a lot of guys are from their relationships. I don't just mean like emotional relationships. I don't just mean like romantic relationships. I just mean relationships in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, if I could see like if you're like a female therapist, that you would just take for granted that some of these things were like level one basic. Like everybody should probably be able to
Well,
understand this thing.
again, I'm going to push back a little bit just because my brother is a
Mhm.
licensed marriage and family therapist. I build websites and do marketing for a living, and 90% of my clients are couples counselors or sex therapists or some kind of counselor or therapist that like I'll tell you right now, the training that they go through, even if you're just a fucking coach, you
Mm.
get some serious training that forces you to confront a lot of those implicit biases. Um, again, I'm gonna chalk it up again to bad therapy, and I'll be honest with you, like a lot of I think it's a lot of what you're saying is true. That apathy, that stoicism, that emotional stuntedness. But
Or
I
just
think when
like insane anger.
you're right, true.
Yeah.
But I think when
Yeah.
most people go to individual or couples counseling, um, especially men, like it's more that they realize, oh, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I hear that more
Mhm.
often than I hear, oh, they took her side or whatever. And if anything, if that's what they're saying, it's probably one of those narcissist kind of dudes who's just was saying that he made the effort to say he made the effort, but wasn't really engaging in it or whatever. Because like you got to be an incredibly shitty therapist for anybody to walk away feeling like that happened. My husband and I, we've gone to couples counseling. We try to just get a checkup every now and again, and that's one of the first things he says. Like, wow, I didn't realize it was. I thought it was going to be kind of like a gang up because we had a woman therapist,
Mhm.
and no, so I found that it's more the opposite, that there's a fear of that happening, and that's maybe what dissuades men from seeking therapy, but that's not actually how it plays out in reality
Oh
most of
yeah,
the
yeah. I mean,
time. Yeah.
I don't say this. I don't say this to discourage or dissuade like couples counseling. The thing that I'm referring to, and I would have to like find it or to cite it properly, right? It's just like a general like why are men more averse to this kind of therapy than women?
Right,
Not to say that it
which
doesn't
is
help,
true.
you know, a significant amount of men, right? But like on the margins, right, you're going to get this kind of thing because you know, women I think are just more emotionally adept than men as a matter of like
Mhm.
socialization, right?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to get
So
in the weeds
the
of
whole
it at all.
no,
What was
you're
your
good, you're good.
larger point? I didn't mean to derail
Yeah,
you so bad.
my larger point is I think that like that discomfort with like the emotional conversation introspection, right? I think a similar thing happens in a lot of people who are less, I guess, politically introspective, right? Or people who are more prone to just like accept the injustice of the world for what it is and not dare to dream that it could be different, right? I
Mm,
think a lot of conservatives are this way, that like they the whole process of deliberating on like what kind of world they would even want to live in, right? Rather than it being dictated to them by the norms that they've like gotten used to, is
mhm,
one that they don't feel comfortable doing because it's like an alien process for them, right? And it scares them, so they're gonna avoid it, right?
mhm.
Uh, I've seen this especially with my girlfriend trying to talk to some of her family members about like the gay thing, right? Like, you know, homophobia, right? Because you know, like Catholic, generally kind of religious, conservative Cubans,
Yeah.
They don't want to have the conversation a lot of the time, right? Some of them don't care, and so some of them are not that homophobic, but like uh, a lot of them, they get annoyed if she even wants to talk about it, right?
Mhm.
Even if she's not like attacking them, it's and what I feel like it is when I see it is like you're just scared of having a conversation with something you just don't feel comfortable with because you haven't thought that much about it, right?
Well,
It's unfamiliar to you, and you don't want to
they
you don't
have
be
thought
caught with
that
your
much
pants
about
down.
it. It's almost always
Well,
like we're all a little bit gay.
I
We're
would-
all a little bit gay, and
I
I
don't
genuinely
think.
think it's for the projection of it. Kyra,
I don't
again,
think.
shittiest headphones in the world. If you just talk loud.
Hold on. I was just saying in terms of that I don't think directly they think about it all the time. I think subconsciously that they do.
Yeah,
In terms of that.
yeah. Their
oh
sixth
yeah,
sense gay.
with
Like
like
it's exactly
yeah.
what I was saying before. Like their reason is that they're Catholic. Their reason is that it's unheard of and it's gross and whatever. But the reality is the same way that it's you know that the conservative is actually racist. The people going against the gay thing, they're probably scared more so that they're a little bit gay than scared of the actual gay person. So I'm agreeing with you
Yeah,
1,000%. Just again,
yeah.
I
What?
think their
Yeah,
reasons are bullshit. I think that the subconscious thing that
I
Kai's talking about is a reality.
I agree with that. When I say they don't think that much about it, I mean I don't think they think about it like top of mind, right? They haven't made a deliberate effort to process, right, what it is they feel about it and why, right?
Right.
It is more of like a subconscious like a thing that they want to like push into a corner, right? Um,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think that's more the case. That's more what it is. And
Yeah.
also, one of the reasons why I think gay people bother homophobes, it's not just like, like you said, a lot of the religious stuff is bullshit. It's if this person is allowed like to live this way happily, what does this mean for me, right? Am I doing the wrong thing? Is there a different way that like life could be? Do I have to think about
Yeah.
fuck that? I want to push that into a corner. I know that
Yeah.
this works, right? Like this is what I've always existed around, right?
Yep.
I don't want to deal with this, right? Stop being gay in front of me. It's bothering me. It's making me uncomfortable
Yeah.
because it's giving me thoughts about, whether or not life should be one way or the other. I just want it to be
Right.
dictated to me. Yeah.
And it's yet another fucking thing where my comfort, me feeling comfortable, is more important than your fucking existence. Chalk it up to like how many are there now? How many instances where it's literally, I don't like it, it's gross, or oh, there are too many of them, or whatever the fuck. Versus I'm in a war torn country, or versus I'm starving, or versus they're killing
Yeah.
us. Like it's literally. So again, whenever I hear tone, woke scolding, whatever the fuck, versus like, what are you actually mad about? Oh, I don't. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, okay, it'll make the kids feel bad to learn about Black
I agree
history.
with
Okay.
I agree with that. I think the tone woke scolding stuff is more so it does more damage internally to the left than it does. It's less about appealing to conservatives and more about like, man, these are not like fun communities to exist in sometimes, right? Like there was a lot of like policing and also just like you should respect somebody's intention. Sometimes it's like what he meant, right? Don't turn this into a thing, right? Because you wanna score some
Right.
points, right? You know what that guy
Right.
meant, right? Yeah, he's not like super educated or whatever, but if he comes in here and you're like fuck you, right? Even though he agrees with like 90% of what you believe in, right? And it's not my job to educate you, like this kind of thing. That's I think internally it's just very destructive to like liberals and the Democratic Party broadly, right? Because like I
Yeah.
said, before, for the Republicans, do you enjoy the taste of Trump's balls? Yes or no? That's the litmus test. And then for Democrats, it's a million little granular divisions, right? Where
Right.
they're very very willing to like eject or and I think it's good to have higher standards than Republicans. I'm not saying don't have standards, but sometimes I think people fall into, you know, not to I guess like light a powder keg, but like I think the Israel stuff is a good example of that because
Hmm.
there was a lot of I watched this is related. I watched this like interview or whatever that are you familiar with ContraPoints?
I am, yes, yes.
Yeah, I
Just
watched an
recently,
interview
I
that
just
she did.
learned about her. But yeah,
Yeah, she makes some pretty interesting stuff. And so many of the comments are like, you know, this like horrible lib bitch supported a genocide or whatever, right? All ContraPoints really said about the Israel thing is like, you know, she finds the situation like pretty hopeless. She thinks that yeah, like it is a genocide and it's pretty bad, and that it
mm,
just, and that doesn't justify like a lot of the anti-Semitism right that's coming out of like people on the left, right? Because
mm,
she's also Jewish, so she's like anti-Semitism not good,
mm,
and that has been run away with like, oh, you know, she's like a genocide supporter or whatever, which is just not an accurate reading of that. But
right.
the point is not like whether or not she actually, these people on some level understand that what they're saying is not true, right? It's it's to define themselves by excluding others. It's the same. It's a similar kind of instinct that
Yes,
develops that has developed a white identity, right? It's a very
yes.
similar kind of thing where it's just
You're
like,
hitting the
you know,
nose.
I
You're hitting
am,
the
yeah,
nose on the head, the nail right on the head.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not really
yeah.
solution oriented at all. It's the thing that it's the thing that frustrates me the most about like progressive spaces. Even though like I'm like fairly progressive, you know, in my politics on policy, I would probably like agree with most of these people, right?
Hmm.
But when I'm in these spaces, I'm like, man, these people are fucking annoying, right? And genuinely,
Yeah,
it's easier for me to argue with a Republican friend of mine than it is for me to argue with a progressive friend of mine, right? Because I
yeah.
am more comfortable just saying like talking to a conservative and be like, that's fucking stupid, dude, right? Um,
Well, think about
God.
this though. Like, if it weren't Israel Palestine, it
Mhm.
would have been something else. Like,
No, yeah,
like,
exactly. It's not about the thing itself.
but like in the same way that like let me give you an example. Like I was literally just talking to somebody about this because they wrote a whole piece on how they got woke scolded to death, and that they if they were any less firm in their convictions about supporting the left, they could see how people could be swayed over to the right because of the woke scolding that they received was so bad. And then you dig deeper into their politics, and you very quickly come to understand that they're a turf, that they
Mm,
are a little bit racist, that they genuinely have blinders on to their
mhm,
implicit biases that they possess, but they think because they're on the left, they think they're more, and again they are to a degree, because I think the left is more morally superior than the right, but
mhm.
they stand on that to excuse their unaddressed biases and bigotry. And so I feel like I've seen that enough to then assert that that's why I don't care. I don't give a fuck about trying to appease these people who can so easily be swayed by being annoyed or being, felt like they're being offended or whatever the fuck. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck, because you're not as left as you think you are. You're not as morally superior as you think you are. If you're so easily swayed away from the left, you weren't in the left to begin with. So like for this person to be
Yeah,
like, trans women aren't
I,
women, but I still think they should get rights. Like, well, then you don't like trans people. You're a turf.
mhm.
You're not as far left as you think you are. And so it's kind of like, again, I don't see the benefit in appealing to people who
I I
aren't
I think one of the
actually on the
things
left, even though they
that's
think they are. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think one of the things that like worries me sometimes the right wing is like, man, there's a few things that they're really really good at, um, that concern me. One of the things that they do is it's kind of abusive. They love bomb really really hard, right? So when
I heard
somebody
ContraPoints
is
talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah. ContraPoints said this, and I watched this happen in high school in real time with like Dave Rubin. I don't know if you know who that is, right?
No.
Most people are not very, you know what? You're better for it, to be honest. But
Now I was
most
gonna look
people-
him up, and
yeah, he was like he was kind of like a liberal online personality that swung super hard to the right because of this exact thing, right? He gets
is
a lot
he a
of backlash
black
from the
man?
left. No, he's a gay guy. He's a white gay guy.
Okay, no, I thought I might have heard of him, but no,
But
sorry.
he became super Trumpy. He would have on he would have on different kinds of guests initially, right? You know, a lot of left wing guests, a lot of right wing guests, and he would get a lot of shit for bringing on the right wingers, right? And also, you know, not adequately challenging them. So, some of the criticism is fair, right? But some of the things that people said about him were kind of unhinged, right? And the left wing is giving him this kind of like abrasive energy, and the right wing is like, "We love you, Dave. You know, you're so cool and smart, and we love you so much." Most people are gonna like go one way. Most people are just not very principled. So the right wing sometimes the Trump is pretty talented on like this forgiveness thing that he does, right? Where you can, you know, he's willing to forgive you. You just can't betray him again, right? Michael Cohen is back in his good graces. I can't believe that there was a relationship that was ever repaired.
Marco
right?
Rubio, freaking yeah, any of that.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Now he forces these people to engage in a humiliation ritual of submission, right? In order to like, you know, exercise that.
Ted Cruz.
But I think the left, yeah, true. Yeah. I think the left can learn a little bit from that, like leaving the door open for somebody to be like, okay, yeah, maybe I was tripping about this thing, and it's like, okay, all good. But that's not how it works, right? The way that I feel like internally on the left is like, if you're wrong about something, it's super high stakes, right? Maybe you're like wrong on a specific issue, or you have an idea that's a little bit regressive, right? But there's almost like no space to actually explore that, right? Because there's almost like a permanent mark against you, right? For a lot of these people on the left, if they step out of line, right? And what the line is really depends on the community, right? Like some, you know, because it's so like fractured and the differences are so like granular, right? I don't know. I get pretty irritated sometimes when the Republican Party is like essentially fascist, right? And you have, you know, like liberals kind of eating each other alive over kind of granular shit that doesn't really matter. Like Gavin Newsom calling a Republican gay and like a hypocrite in a joking context that's supposed to mock the Republicans' hypocrisy should not be like a huge point of criticism that the left is like eating him alive over. Or Gavin Newsom saying that like trans women in sports, right? Probably not the most fair thing in the world. Are we really gonna like excise this guy, right, from the Democratic Party because of like this kind of a disagreement? It's not worth it. I mean, on the other end, you have mass thugs going around, right, killing Americans. I think that there's an extent to which you can just make your case internally, right? Here's a good example. This is a good way to put it. I'm kind of jumping around, but this just popped into my head, right? So on my dad's side, I'm Arab, right? I have a lot of issues with like Arabs and Muslims broadly. I think this, you know, I have my own personal feelings about a lot of about my community, right? I'm not religious myself, and I have my reasons for that. And also, I would never like openly shit on Arabs to like a bunch of like white people or like a bunch of conservatives.
Right.
Not because
right.
not to like deceive or hide it from you, right? But because like, you know, I don't want to give people ammunition to like hate or discriminate against like my people or my community, right? We're not coming at it from the same
or
place.
you.
Or me, right? I criticize, you know, Arabs and Muslims for a lot of like the shit that in social norms that they have that I think are bad, right? Because I would like for the community to be better and treat it, you know, and everybody to be like happier and whatever, right? But for them, it's like these fucking savages, you know. I'm not saying like necessarily all white people are going to do that, but the way I'm going to talk about these things is going to be a lot more careful, right?
Yes.
When I'm speaking outside of like when I'm speaking to a wider group that's kind of outside of my community or outside of like people that I know, I trust, we share values, whatever, right? And I think I wish that the left kind of did that, right? You could disagree about these things internally, right? But when it comes to like a Democrat and a Republican,
outside of the family,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll beat my brother up, but don't let anybody else beat my brother up. I'll fuck him up, you know. But like,
Precisely that. Yeah.
but that should tell you everything you need to know. Like, remember we were talking about how when you hear that hypocrisy, oh they don't like crime, but they don't support. Oh, they don't. You know, they say they don't like immigration, but they didn't back this bill. You know, like whenever you hear that
Yeah.
hypocrisy, it's racism or it's an ism.
Yeah.
It's a phobia. It's a bigotry. It's the same fucking shit. Like what I was just saying about how those people on the left who are disaffected or can be disaffected by tone, you know, those are the people who again aren't as left as they think they are. They were never probably going to vote for Kamala Harris. They are probably quite, like you said, susceptible to that right wing love bombing, or even just the whole idea of, you know, the left went so far left that I became right by
Yeah.
default because that kind of
It's just so
bullshit.
irritating. Yeah.
Right. But it's the same fucking thing with these super progressive mono issue fucking leftists. They're not actually leftists. Like they were never going to vote for Kamala Harris. They were probably never going to vote for anybody or always a third party. Because at first it wasn't Bernie, and then you know, the IP stuff, and now Gavin Newsom's a problem. And it's always, I'm telling you, it's always going to be something. And the reason that, you know, you have that that ambivalence or that niggling about the hypocrisy of it, like, you know, well, if they say they care about IP, wouldn't they put the candidate in who, you know, if they say they care about trans issues, wouldn't they want to support the Democratic candidate over, you know, even if it is Gavin Newsom, because they'll probably most likely have a more fair approach to the whole thing than just whatever the fuck Trump's doing right now. Whenever you hear that hypocrisy, again, just dig a little deeper and you'll find the ism. And I definitely think that for those really tanky, lefty, crazy people who like the Hassan stands, you know, like
Yeah.
they were
But I don't think you have
never
to go
going to
that
vote.
far left. No,
But that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like I don't think they're even on
like
the
people are less
spectrum,
balanced.
because they're
Yeah.
not on the spectrum. They're apolitical. They're never going to want to believe or think that the government can do shit. Like they don't. They'll tell you
So
like they're so ineffectual. Why vote? It doesn't matter. That both parties are the same, right? So they're
I
never gonna vote. I'm
I
sorry, and I
agree.
feel like I'm talking over you.
Yeah, no,
I have a hard time with these
you're
headphones.
no, you're not really talking over me. I was just trying to find the point at which there was a lull.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I no, you're good. You're good. I agree that this is. I would say for Hassan like a little like side tangent. I think that's the character of his community is like this kind of apolitical thing. I think Hassan is changing his mind on it a little bit. Not like now. This is not to say oh you know Hassan is redeemed or I like Hassan. I still don't really want anything to do with him politically. I don't think it's like a beneficial. But I think when Mamdani was elected and Hassan had interviewed him at 3%, Hassan would never say this about himself. I think in his mind though, it feels to me like he picked up this little like wait maybe I can maybe like I'm a little bit of a kingmaker maybe I have more power than I think I do, and I think a lot of the conversation about him online is inflating his ego somewhat. I think he is
Yeah,
more interested in engaging in politics seriously. He's like getting more involved with like elections and stuff, which is not the way that he was before because of Mamdani's success, right?
right.
Um,
And his
I
narcissism.
think his narcissism has enabled like this kind of like new ambition that's getting him to like engage with politics in a way that's more serious. Um, the thing that frustrates me about these people is like you don't even have to go to a tanky to like hit the problems that I'm talking about because these people kind of are the culture of the left, even though they're like a super minority, right? Um, and it's that there's not like really like that center left vision thing we were talking about earlier. There's not a different kind of left wing messaging apparatus, right? That is contrary and a little bit hostile to like the tanky thing. That is like that has developed into its own kind of subculture. It doesn't really exist. So as long as that doesn't exist, right? when you're dealing with people on the left, even people who are like liberals who are not like communists or tankies or whatever, they still absorb, I think, a lot of the vibes of this culture because it's a lot of what people see and consume online. And you get into those kind of like dumber spats. And also, this is a function of like left wing demographics generally, is that Democrats, broadly speaking, tend to be like better off than Republicans, right? They tend to make more money. They tend to be better educated. They tend to be more privileged. Broadly, obviously, this is not the case for all Democrats, but like on average. And
No,
I
you're
think it's
right.
a lot easier. Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to like purity test on these things when you're fine. You know, you can quibble over whether or not Biden was strong enough on the Israel thing, right? Because it doesn't really matter to you. For the Palestinian, that is like, okay, well, there's a difference between having a humanitarian harbor that guarantees me aid and like getting evacuated before Israeli invasions and not getting any of that and just getting blown up, right? That does matter, right? That they can go to the U.S. Navy and that they guarantee them some kind of food and medical aid and stuff like that. There's a huge difference, right, for the lived experience of a Palestinian, even if it's not the ideal situation, even if it's like still pretty shitty, right? But if it doesn't affect you, you don't have to give a shit about that. This is now a vehicle for you to morally grandstand. And I think it's a lot easier to do that moral grandstanding when you're fine, when your life isn't that bad, when things are kind
Right.
of working out for you, right?
Or when
And a lot
your
of
mono issue is across an ocean. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, across the ocean, yeah. When it comes to like healthcare, it's like, oh, why, why, like why the fuck are we arguing over ACA subsidies? Like this sucks. We should just have like a Medicare for all, whatever. That's a fine opinion for you to have if you want that. If you want to hold that position, right? You should still vote for the Democrat though, because the alternative is the Republican healthcare plan, which there is none, right? Like if you actually care about the healthcare of Americans,
But that
right?
logic,
What about the rural
that's
hospitals?
logical.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, you're being
Yeah,
too
exactly.
logical. You're being too reasonable. But again, they didn't
That's true.
the same way the fucking MAGA people didn't reason themselves into their beliefs. Same with these fucking apolitical motherfuckers who are trying to claim they're on the left. They're
yeah.
not. And they weren't
Yeah.
reasoned into that apathy,
Yeah, that's true. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people are this way because principles are not like they're a thing you have to like think through for yourself, and they take some effort to like
Right.
really ground out. So I
Well,
kind
hopefully
of
that's
feel
what your
like
course will help us with.
yeah, hopefully.
I'm here for it.
Democrats need to be cool, right? Like it has to not be lame to be a Democrat, right?
Who's cooler than Obama? Who's cooler than
That I
fucking
mean that
Bill Clinton playing
that's
saxophone on the fucking Arsenio Hall show? Like,
that's
we're cool
that's
as fuck.
true,
It has
right?
nothing to do. You think
But
Trump's cool? Who else? George
no,
W.
but
Bush was
to
cool? Like,
to a
okay.
to a kind of person, the thing is that Trump does stuff and you can see that he does stuff, right? When Democrats pass a bill, right, that takes 15 years to get off the ground sometimes, right?
Mhm.
And you know, like there is a value in like building a bridge just so people know that you built the bridge. You know what I mean, right? At least they see it. They
Yeah.
know that you did something, right? Regardless
I
of
hear
how
you.
horrible Trump's policy is, at the very least, it's noticeable, right? I understand on paper that Joe Biden was one of the most progressive presidents, right, in modern American history, and I like Joe Biden generally, right? The infrastructure bill is pretty cool, right? It's a shame though that like so many of the
Chips
energy
Act.
projects are
Yeah.
shut down because they were still in the permitting process.
Right.
There is like a cause and effect thing with Democrats that you don't see, and it's a lot. I get that it's harder to create things than it is to destroy them. But when Republicans are seeing Trump destroy things, at least they're like, yeah, our guy did something. With Democrats, sometimes it feels like there is a thing that's happening, but like it's kind of like a long term thing, and it's under the hood of like a lot of kind of systems that you need to be civically engaged to really understand. No, people want to see that when they go outside their front door, there is a pothole fixed or fucking a bridge that's built or whatever.
I don't know.
Right? They want like
I'm being such a fucking contrarian today. I'm so sorry.
You're good,
But
you're
no, I gotta disagree. Like I feel like what could we possibly say a Republican has produced
No, but
beyond
it's not about what I'm describing is not logical, right? Like it's not whether or not because the Democrat policy is like 100% obviously objectively better, right? But it's just about like it being noticeable, right? I think one of the things that Mamdani does super well is that, right? Is that like you constantly see that this guy is doing something, right? And that there was like an outcome to his actions that is noticeable, right?
Like
And he
I still feel
constantly
like
advertises on.
you're just trying to identify another variable that
Mhm.
explains what
Well,
cannot be
I think it's like a
explained, you know?
it's
Like
I think
it's
it's a I think it's like a multivariable thing, right? I'm
I
kind
mean,
of just like
yes.
running,
Yes.
yeah.
I agree. And I like the thought experiment of it all. I do. But I guess it's just I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that that might be what contributed to 2% of the reasoning, like whereas like the
Maybe, yeah.
90% of it was just that they're fucking bigots. Like or they're um like I'd say for the case of like the quote unquote progressives or leftists, like even that I think that's more some I have like no idea what their ism would be tied to beyond some kind of like again like racism or implicit bias, like where they claim they give a shit about a different country or whatever, but like when women were under attack with Roe v. Wade, and when uh, even when BLM stuff was going on, you hear so much about how they want to distance themselves from um, that. Like, oh, we're not that, we're not Antifa, we're this, like it's
Mhm.
just this weirdness. It's just I can't explain it, so I don't really know what
Yeah,
to attribute it
I
to,
think if
but it's
you
the same model. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it is. It is. I think if you took a lot of these people and you drop them right, like change their circumstances, and they were raised in the Bible thumping belt, the Bible Belt or whatever, right, in like a rural town,
That's a
they would
good
just be
point.
racist, right?
That's a great point.
It,
Or they would be
but
Republican.
yeah,
They'd feel more
which is
comfortable just
functionally the
claiming
same.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
It's
don't think
usually
they're not
almost like
racist though.
it's usually almost like one of two
Yeah.
core points that I can see. They're either
Mhm.
completely dedicated to free market economics, or they're completely dedicated to some sort of a religion or some sort of a religious thing, like logical piece from a religious book in the case of like
Mhm.
abortion. And then because they have to defend that point, they set all the other parameters to be whatever they need to be, right? And that's how you get your like and probably bigotry as well is like a core thing there, you know.
Mhm.
but
I think
you know
so.
But yeah,
what's similar,
Thanks, Nerd.
the thing that's similar about the two things that you said, Nurk, right? The free market capitalism and the religion, and I would also say the same thing about bigotry. Is these are all these three things. If you believe in like totally unfettered capitalism, right? You're a theocratic person, or you're a racist, or you're some kind of bigot. These beliefs simplify the world for you quite a bit, right? It's a lot easier, if the world
mhm.
operates this way.
That's why they
The
cling to it.
invisible.
That's why they like it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that a lot of people are actually this way, right? Including a lot of people on the left. And I wish there was like a liberal model for something that like
Mm.
without
Simplified
without
it.
lying. Yeah, exactly. Without lying about the circumstances of the world, right? Without like creating a boogeyman that doesn't actually solve the problem. Um, that could like be solution oriented and actually solve problems and also simplifies it for people. And I think a lot of people want that. They want like the clear mission, clear vision, right? This will do this, and then I see it in my life. Like it makes sense to somebody who doesn't have to think about it too much, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's what I feel like people are constantly craving. And while yeah, like the Republicans don't really make or do anything meaningfully good for the country, right? Their worldview. If you have it, it's simple. It's easy to understand. It makes sense, right? This is the problem. We just attack this thing. It never actually solves a problem because they're not. It's not an accurate representation of what the problem is, right?
Mhm.
But it's visible, right? That's what I mean with the visibility thing. Is like there's a desire for simplicity that I think most voters have, that Democrats just are not good at all, right?
Yeah.
It's always complexity. It's granular disagreements. Um, it's long term projects that don't have like a lot of a clear, easy, simple turnaround. It's like I feel like a lot of complexity, right, in the way the Democrats conduct themselves that
Yeah.
makes them a little bit less attractive to like your Joe Schmo who just wants to go to work, come home, turn his brain off, and watch TV, right? That guy is not gonna read about the infrastructure bill or the Inflation Reduction Act. He doesn't care about that, man. You know.
Right. Or understand how
If you tell
it
him,
might help him. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. What you know? What's easier for that guy to understand? Mexicans and black people are the problem. Oh, okay. Well, I get that. That makes sense.
Right.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
I hear you. Do you know that meme? Let me. I don't know if you can still see my screen, but let me see if I can find it. The that's nice group. Huddle. I mean, I don't know if I could. It's like a
Oh
meme.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. With
Yeah.
the thumbs up.
Is that a yeah. Group. This
Yeah.
this to me is digital ground game. Like I
Mhm.
swear to fucking God, I think this is the remedy. I think this is the response. I swear to fucking God, I think that's it. Cause look at fucking Hassan getting on Progressive Victory's little thing, and they made a little money, and he's still pushing his rhetoric around. And then here we go. That actually looks like little Destiny's little thing. like, and then here we go. We just do our own fucking thing. We're like that, and we're like fucking nah, Spider-Man. and we're like this. We're like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. That is us. And I think that's a response. Like, fuck trying to fucking listen to this bitch over here. Fuck you. We're gonna canvas. We're gonna get out the vote for people who, you know, who want to hear what we have to say. We're gonna do the fucking work, you know. And you can keep talking all you want to. That's nice. But this is DGG, and I think this is that needs to be the fucking response. Like, oh, you don't like trans women? Is okay, fine, okay. Anyway, or like I'm pulling up all the memes. All the memes
So
today.
I agree with this.
Oh no. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh no. Anyway. Yeah.
like fuck you.
I agree with this. The center left has to build its own thing 100%, right?
Yeah.
And this does to some extent need to be the attitude, but on like the Trump forgiveness thing, I think like you kind of always have to leave the door open for somebody. You can't just show up and be like, yeah, guys, I was on your side the whole time. Obviously, you have to reckon with the fact that like, okay, this thing was wrong, right? And you know, you don't have to do the Trump style humiliation ritual, but you have to make like a public concession that this thing was wrong, because if you're just going to bring that thought process into the future, right, we're going to end up in the same exact place, right? You know, if this is what I think. This is something Hassan said about Tucker Carlson that I actually think is true, right? One of the few things that Hassan has said that made sense, right? That was like thoughtful, which is that what Tucker Carlson is probably going to do is the whole like, he's probably going to make it a Jew thing, right? I think that that's the direction he's leaning, but it's going to be like, like Trump was tricked, we were fooled, whatever. He
did.
Yeah. It's not like we were wrong, right? It's that we were deceived. And the thing that strikes me about that is just like, man, if you keep getting deceived, maybe you're too fucking stupid to make these decisions. All right, like this happened with Bush, this happened with Trump. Like maybe you guys just don't know what the fuck is going on, and you
trickle down economics.
Yeah, exactly. That happened with Reagan too.
The crime bill. Jesus Christ, you're right. Well, that's us. That was. Well, no, that was
true, but
kind of, but yeah.
It's Clinton.
It came from Reagan, though. It started with Reagan.
Yeah, I mean the mentality.
War on crime, war on drugs.
Yeah. These things tend not to work. It's, you know, I don't know, if I was constantly wrong about everything all the time, I would probably just stop, right? If I was an engineer and I built like 5 bridges and they all collapsed and killed like 15 people, I'd probably be like, yeah, maybe I should stop building bridges, you know?
But again,
clearly I'm not doing
that's
as well.
That's because you think that their objective is to build a bridge. Their objective is to kill as many people with broken bridges as they possibly can. So they don't fucking care, man. They want this. They love the chaos.
Mhm.
They want the war. They want the fucking economic upheaval. They want our allies to hate us. They want us disconnected from the world. Like they're getting exactly what they fucking want. That's why there's still so many people who are so pro Trump. And the only people who are acting like they're not now are just falling into that whole one day everyone will have been against this fucking shit, like you said, like Tucker Carlson and all them. But anyway,
Tucker only turned on Trump when Trump called them stupid or something on Truth Social.
right, and he'll and just like fucking what's his name, Joe Rogan. Oh, I'm politically homeless, and then the next fucking was it 24 hours
That was
later
crazy. I couldn't
in the
I
fucking
couldn't
White
believe
House.
that.
Talk about, oh, he's changing
like,
the scheduling of this drug for us. Did it just like that? Just, oh God, you're right about
after
the
all this
fucking
talk about how
the
cruel ICE
balls.
is, you're like, okay, yeah, it's so easy to be a Republican, right? And sometimes when
So much so, yeah.
I envy it a little bit. I'm like, wow, this shit.
Well,
You
it's
don't
like
gotta,
ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is
yeah.
bliss. Yeah, it's probably really nice to be a fucking moron. You don't have to think about shit.
Mhm.
So, you know, it sucks for us. But anyway,
Yeah,
listen,
but,
we're
that's
a
fair.
half
Yeah,
hour
we need,
over time.
yeah, that's fair.
I'm
We need,
gonna.
we need that simplicity.
Well, let me. I want to hear like your closing thoughts, but I do want to
Mhm.
like Nurk. I want to lift you up, buddy, because I know we've just been kind of gabbing. But do you want to take a minute and just let us know if you got
All
any
good.
work done at all?
Oh yeah, I've been getting work done. I'm working on Git
Okay.
repos and stuff now.
Okay.
But yeah, my conversations I don't have over here.
Well, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. I'm glad he found this time productive. I think this was very productive though, because I enjoyed chatting with you. And I
Oh yeah,
genuinely
very
hope,
productive.
yeah, I hope it informs your workshop a little bit, or
Yeah, and
helps
I
with how
appreciate
you're thinking on it.
I appreciate the the pushing back and challenging and examining things, right? Because it just refines ideas, makes them stronger.
Thank you. Well, do you want to? Oh, and Kai, was there anything you were working on that you want some feedback on, or some critiques or anything? She's always working on something. So
She might be AFK.
that's all right. Probably. That's quite all right. But yeah, give us your final thoughts of the evening, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close this out.
Yeah, I basically just like I kind of hope that in the course of putting these, especially the civics workshops, and also PJ wants to do some rhetoric ones together, I can hone and maybe like and refine like a more refine that like a like liberal American identity, right, of civic nationalism that has like an affirmative positive vision for the country and for like the wider political mission of the Democratic Party, and one that's like simple and easy to understand and simple and easy to sell. Because I have a bias toward complexity personally, right? So I struggle with it a little bit.
Same.
Because I think complicated answers are more fun, also. But
Right.
I don't think it's the proclivity of more people.
Well,
But
are you like?
anyway.
I don't mean to, and you don't have to answer this, but are you ADHD, or do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I do have ADHD. Yeah.
Like honestly, like I just heard something where it was like people with ADHD, they see arguments as fun, whereas like most people
Yes. Yeah.
see it as an argument. So I was like, I wonder if that's true for you. I don't personally, I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but but for some reason, like that is how my brain works. So like, I would say like genuine good faith discussion it is so fun for me, and so like this was such an enjoyable conversation. I so thoroughly appreciate you taking the time to hang out.
Yeah, no problem.
This is awesome.
Thanks for
But
having me.
yeah, so but with that, I mean, man, I'm around. You just DM me if you ever want to chat again, or we'll be back with Subversion School on Saturday, and that's definitely the place to come if you're wanting some focused feedback on achieving a project, an objective of like a video, whatever kind of thing you're working on, that's a really good space to come in to get that feedback from myself and everybody else in the room. So maybe I'll see you, Adam, on Saturday, or any of you still watching. That is at 9 p.m. Eastern GMT, which is 4 p.m. Eastern time. So 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central, on Saturday.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do to show up. I do want to go to one of the Subversion schools. I'm not gonna be able to do this Saturday because my girlfriend and I are celebrating her new job at the DOJ.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's huge.
She's doing antitrust.
That's amazing. Oh, that's necessary now that all these regulations and mergers are happening. That's ridiculous. But amazing. But yeah, if not, there we do just like this, we film them. So if you're curious about how that runs, definitely check back on the playlist. But otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the night. Oh, okay, I had to dip. That's quite all right. Thanks everybody for popping in. K-Mav, everybody else, Rafi for a second. And anybody watching, I have not at all checked the Twitch or the YouTube chat, so I'll get back to you guys later. But thanks so much. We'll see you on Saturday for Subversion School and then debate nights. All right. Bye, friends.
Catch y'all later.
Keep going back to this thing. Alrighty, YouTube and Twitchers. That's not a very kind way of Twitcher. Anyway, I'll see you guys Saturday.